Community for Impacted Founders.
Designing for social impact.
Being sustainable from day one.
Being a contributor when it comes to other people's progression.
This is a movement of people that have come together to do good.
Good morning, movement of people come together to do good. It's so lovely to be here with you all today. My name's Jess Scully. I have the immense privilege of being your host today, this morning. So I'm so excited to be here. And I want to start out by acknowledging that we're meeting on Gadigal country today and to pay collectively our respects to elders past and present of the Eora Nation and to recognise, welcome, support the next generation of leaders from Eora country who are going to help us work side by side, be part of this community that is about impact, purpose, contribution, and shaping the kind of future that we're excited to be in. So it's wonderful to be here on Gadigal country. I'm super excited to be in what is, without question, the sunniest spot in Sydney today. You've all made a very wise choice to be here at RICO, and we're all really here to learn from each other and to learn from experts in their fields, to build and grow and to optimise and to figure out how we can make business work in service of that future that we want to live in. And then the kind of subset of that is we're overwhelmed by technology and the talk about technology, the talk about AI and these sorts of tools in particular. Is it possible? How do we work to use those tools to achieve good, to achieve purpose? It's a real quandary. It's something people all over the world are wrestling with, and we're going to do it here together in this room today. So this experience is powered by RICO Digital, and it's supported by the City of Sydney, by Boomerang Labs, by Radish Events, Uncommon Hospitality, and FD Global, and so many excellent people. Circle are here with the cups, Groundswell is here as a charity partner. There's a lot of great people who are supporting this event, which is really exciting. And RICO Live is brought to you by RICO Digital, which is a design and digital agency powered by research, strategy and AI. It's led by Dangling Zhao and built by a global team of engineers, designers and researchers. Their vision for this event and their vision for this ecosystem that we're all a part of is to co-create a creative network where digital marketers, technologists and change makers all collaborate on work that really matters, so that it's really meaningful when we get up and do the work that we do. And it's meaningful that you're here today because it's part of building that ecosystem so we don't feel like we're doing this on our own. So here's a little bit about what we can expect from today. Today is about the future of your brands, about design and business with purpose, as we've said. We're going to hear from those really brilliant minds over the next few hours. And then we're also going to get involved and go into workshop mode a little bit later this afternoon. So don't get comfortable sitting in your rows quietly, messaging your questions in through the app, because it's about to get really interactive once you've all warmed up and once we've downloaded a lot of information. That's all coming. So this is the flow of today. We're starting with a Pecha Kucha first up, and that's going to be super rapid fire. Then we're going to take a deep breath, kind of literally, with Ben Brockman, and then we're going to go into a series of focused keynotes. And then we're going to have a coffee break, so don't worry, that'll come. And when we come back into the room, we'll be in that workshop mode, and we'll be asking questions directly of mentors who'll be sitting at your table, experts, and you'll have the opportunity to cycle through a few of them. And then we'll be wrapping it up with lunch, brought to us by Radish Events, so that's exciting too. Here's a little bit of housekeeping. Please put your phones on silent. Whose phone isn't on silent? I mean, every time. The bathrooms are just over there in the back corner, through that door there. In case of emergency, just very peacefully and quietly move down the stairs with ultimate zen, and we'll be fine. There is a water station just outside the conference room, and we have reusable cups and plates today provided thanks to Circle. Circle is such an awesome business. Who knows Circle, right? Yeah. Do you know what I was saying to Patrick from Circle? I get annoyed when I go to a conference and there isn't Circle now. I'm like, you know that Circle exists, right? They're an extraordinary, extraordinary business. You know, they have reusable cups and plates. They wash them. They work. Patrick was telling me with women who are rebuilding their lives after DV to do that job. Like, just such an incredible example of a great social enterprise. And so they're part of this. It's a smart return and reuse model. That's what the drop pod looks like. So please return your unused Circle cups and plates and your used ones into the drop pod. And of course, this event is going to be very photographed, very filmed, and very live streamed. Hello to everybody on the live stream as well. So if you prefer not to be featured in any way, please just let someone who's lurking around the side know, and we'll take that into account. Last little bit of networking, of housekeeping. So there's no Q&A in the room today because there's so much content that's going to be coming at you that we're going to actually take all of those questions, get our speakers to answer them on the app, but also then create content, follow-up content based on the questions that you ask. So on the back of your lanyard, you've got the QR code as well, but this is also the QR code. It takes you to a survey, which you can complete at any time, and to the Q&A where you can ask questions too. And then, yes, there'll be resources following up based on those most popular questions. Also on the back, if you haven't had a chance to look at the back of your lanyard, there's networking bingo. So this is one of those, it's an icebreaker for any introverts who have managed to find their way into the room. But it is, it's really exciting. So please cross off any tiles. Oh, there you go. Ask someone, how do you feel about AI? Make sure you leave about 20 to 30 minutes if you ask that question. I mean, do you have an AI girlfriend? It's maybe another thing you could ask. But anyway, so then if you cross off everything on this, which is verifiable, we can check if you've done it. If you do, the person who crosses off the most tiles will win a 1.5-hour strategy workshop with Rico. So you know there are real prizes to be won here. So please give that a go. Okay, so that's all the housekeeping. It's going to be a really, really fun day, so I'm really excited to be here with you. We're going to start off now with the Pecha Kucha, and everybody's been to a Pecha Kucha before, right? Yeah? No pressure to our wonderful presenters who are going to be presenting the Pecha Kucha, but it is fast. The slides just move. They just move and move and move. It's 6 speakers, 20 slides. Each of the slides are 20 seconds long, and we're asking the question, what makes people care about your brand in the AI age? And to kick us off, we have Sarah Burton. Sarah? So Sarah is the lead product designer from Dovetail. From Fortune 100 companies to one of Australia's biggest VC scale-up, Sarah has spent her career building products that people really care about. And Dovetail is an AI-powered customer insights hub used by many researchers, marketers, and big brands as well. It was founded in Sydney, which is super exciting, and now it's global, and there's staff all over Sydney, San Francisco, and people working together on a mission to help the world improve quality. So this is all about knowing your customers, right, Sarah? Sarah, kick us off. Welcome, Sarah, please.
What does it mean to understand your audience in the age of AI? Cutting through the hype, has this fundamentally changed? And how can we take something as uniquely human as understanding people and look at that through a lens of technology? Hi, I'm Sarah, lead product designer at Dovetail, and I spend most of my days not only trying to deeply understand my own customers, but thinking through how we can make sense of customer intelligence more broadly. The truth is, the world has changed. Speed used to be a differentiator, and now it's table stakes. So what is the difference between brands that succeed and those that fail in the age of AI? I passionately believe this comes down to the companies that focus on the right problems to solve by thoroughly understanding their customers and their problems. But there's a lot of fear around this and some hype. Has what your customers, and your users and your audience, what they care about, has that totally changed overnight? Well, kind of, but not in the way that you think, maybe. The what has changed, but the why probably hasn't. Your audience is not waking up in the morning really with the goal of using AI, probably, unless they're a very specific subset. They have their set of goals that they care about and want to achieve. Yes, they probably expect that they can use AI to get there these days, but their why hasn't changed. Similarly for us, our why hasn't changed here of understanding our audience, but the what and how the tactics available to us have a little bit with the age of AI. But it's not as overwhelming as you might think. So today I'm going to talk you through 5 tactics to make sense of what customers are thinking, feeling, and needing in the age of AI. How to cut through the noise and get to signal to understand what your audience really cares about. It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife. So opens Pride and Prejudice with a proposal about human behaviour that contextualises all the decisions of the characters within the story. Like Jane Austen, I am asking you to go forward and find the core truths about your customers and your audience. And similarly to writing, the key to how you're going to do so is through language. With this sheer scale of feedback that I have to deal with day to day, how I sort through what is a higher order problem that feels persistent for my users versus something that is lower level is how those customers describe it. If those customers are talking about their challenges only in the language of your product or ecosystem, they're probably talking about a lower level challenge. Now, it's important to keep these in mind because you need to be able to solve those challenges. But if you're not focusing the majority of your attention on core needs, which are typically reflected through product agnostic language, you're more susceptible to the changes in technology because you're not as purpose driven. So the first tip is really focus on your customer core needs and ensure the majority of your time is spent on that. All or nothing thinking can stop people from taking action on causes they care about, like reducing waste, because it feels too big a problem to tackle. Similarly, when thinking about understanding your audience, all or nothing thinking can stop you from making meaningful inputs into your plans and strategy by thinking you have to get to 100% accuracy. You might not have the skills or expertise or the time to get to 100% understanding of your customers, but a little goes a long way. You know what's bigger than 0%? 40%. And what's bigger than 0%? 10% even. A little bit can help you get towards further accuracy. And what this might look like and how I talk to my teams is, you might not understand what the entire group is thinking, but you can really go deep into a subset. And this can set up guardrails that help vector you in the right direction. So you might not know exactly the target of where you're heading, but you can get a much greater sense of where to go with just a little bit. Don't know about you, but my social media is flooded with videos about Project Pan, where people intentionally use up the products they buy before they purchase new ones, which seems obvious. But this kind of thinking can be applied, this kind of use what you have attitude can be applied to less obvious places in your life, like customer data. There is just so much data. Some sources estimate that 90% of the world's data was produced in the last 2 years alone, and this problem is only going to get worse. The benefit here is that understanding of your customers and your audience, there's likely a lot that you can draw on rather than necessarily needing to go and generate more. Whether that's pulling from social media or even doing things like looking at your competitive reviews, there's likely a lot that you can make sense of, and AI actually makes this achievable to make sense at scale. How I would suggest you supercharge this is to frame it through the lens of your own internal intelligence. Customer intelligence that you have gathered internally is really valuable IP, and you should be leaning into that. Because after all, the accessibility of all that data, your competitors have access to that too. So how I'd suggest doing this is, finding those things that just you and your company alone knows. Maybe talk to someone what customer intelligence do you have in your brain? Hive mind it together and then frame what you can learn in the market with that lens of what you have internally, breaking down those data silos and supercharging what everyone else has access to. Speaking of all that data, I truly believe one of the core differentiating skills of the future is going to be knowing when to ignore, just because there is going to be so much feedback coming your way. And this might sound like a really interesting position for someone who is user experience obsessed, but truly knowing when to not pay attention and when to just tune out what is coming is really important. Just like I am ignoring what I've put as my background image on this slide because I don't have time to explain. And the problem is a lot of this feedback is going to be valid. I'm sure a lot of you remember when Google went through this icon redesign and the backlash that was experienced online. Rightly so. This is quite an accessibility challenge. But you'll also notice that, with the exception, I think, of the Docs icon, Google largely hasn't reverted back these icons. And I think there's something really interesting here because Google has focused on the feedback that is going to move their bottom line and has focused on what they know their values are and what they care about. It might not be the decisions that we would make, but they have been able to laser focus on the feedback that's important to them. Similarly, I would really encourage you, in order to tune out the lots of valid feedback that you're going to get, because you can't pay attention to all of it and still build good brands and products with purpose. You have to focus on what's important. Really get crisp on your why as a company. What are you trying to provide as value, and why do you exist? Getting really clear on that and your values is going to be able to focus your attention on the feedback that is actually going to move the needle and lets you build those products intentionally and brands intentionally, rather than getting sidetracked with lots of what is likely to be valid feedback. And when you're able to tune out some of that noise, you might be able to take a breath. Things are changing really fast, and the pace is dizzying, and that pressure is so all-encompassing, and the data that is coming at you is more than ever, and it can feel like a lot. AI has sped up a lot. A lot of your workflows can be faster. I really encourage you, though, to not speed up your thinking workflows. Take some of that time that can be sped up using AI in other areas and spend a little bit more time on that strategy. 30 minutes at the start of a project may not make a difference to the overall project timelines, but thinking through a little bit and taking that step back about how you can bring the audience into your process might have dramatic outcomes for the success. So that's my tips of what I can fit in 6.5 minutes. I passionately believe that brands that understand their audience are going to be the ones that succeed in this new age, and that is going to be your differentiator. And while it might sometimes feel a little bit overwhelming, I have full confidence that if you find your core truths, think in increments, use what you have, know when to ignore, and sometimes just breathe, you're going to be just fine.
Great stuff, Sarah. Thank you so much. Breathing. First, going to be big today. That's fantastic. Great tip. Thank you. Our next presenter is Olga Argayal, the Senior Marketing Communications Manager at the City of Sydney. Now, the City of Sydney is a tricky market, a tricky audience, because you have to communicate with literally everyone. And Olga has to communicate about a really complex and difficult topic. She shapes how the city has shaped its communicates its sustainability work to a really diverse and growing audience. So she's got to provide some insight today about how you can engage citizens, how you can shift behaviour, and how you can earn public trust. And trust is this defining word I think we're going to hear a lot of today as well. Something that's eroding, something that's hard to build and maintain, and something that's absolutely essential when you're building any brand. So Olga is going to offer a rare insight into how the city approaches strategy, campaigns, and messaging, and how you communicate complex change really clearly. So please welcome Olga.
Hi. Sorry, I'm just going to get myself ready. Great. At the City of Sydney, caring for our community, our environment and people form the cornerstone of our mission. At the heart of a values-driven organisation are individuals like Sarah, and she provides remarkable work serving our community. Through our people and our spaces and our places, we strive to foster and enhance social connections and interactions. Oh, not that way. Okay, we all know that AI is transforming businesses and all levels of government. At one end of the spectrum, it's being integrated into various business functions. Thank you. Like customer service, marketing, sales and compliance and operations. But at the other end of the spectrum, it's really turning ideas into revenue within 48 hours. At the City, we're at the start of our journey, and we're seeing efficiencies, cost savings, and we're enhancing the customer experience. What's fascinating and surreal is that within the next 3 years, AI and AI video in particular will be so advanced that distinguishing reality from creation could become quite challenging. Many business leaders believe that technological evolution is expected to spark a significant increase back to face-to-face engagement and interactions. We'll be moving back from the virtual world into the tangible, vibrant world of real-life engagement. The shift is what Mark Cuban refers to as the Milli Vanilli effect. Like the famous duo, we'll start questioning authenticity. What is real and what do we see and what do we hear? As a result, many who are confined to the office may see themselves back in the field, engaging in the world around them. At the City, we understand the importance of face-to-face engagement. We use our spaces and our places to forge community connection, conversation, and debate and interaction. Our community centres, our libraries, our parks, playgrounds, gyms, community gardens and neighbourhood streets all provide essential services fostering social connection, combating loneliness and promoting health and wellbeing. There's no denying it. AI is changing the game, particularly for marketers and content creators, and it's rewriting the rules of content. What once took days now takes seconds. Entire videos can be produced without a single human touch. Voices are mimicked, faces are replicated, but for businesses, it's a game changer. Faster output, reduced costs, and infinite scale. But with speed and scale comes a trade-off, and that's trust. In a world where reality is artificially constructed, people are becoming more discerning and skeptical. They're not just buying a product or believing a message, they're looking for authenticity. They want to know who made this, what do they stand for, and why should I believe them? That's where your brand earns its place. It's not about flawless production, it's about being real, being human, and building trust in an age of digital uncertainty. Sorry. Okay. At the City, we believe that lo-fi, relatable content, speed to market is key. We aim to publish on the right message at the right time in the right place. We know each channel's purpose, and that helps us make considered choices. We try and be helpful, knowledgeable, and truthful and accessible. Now play. So talking about lo-fi, this little reel was created by our fab little content team earlier this week when we opened the Oxford Street Cycleway. It's a little bit of fun, a little bit of joy, and there was strong engagement on this post, and it was all done within an hour. So in my humble opinion, let AI take on the more mundane and routine tasks, let it optimise how you operate, and seize the opportunity for your brand to become more relevant. By standing out, having a perspective, and sharing it in a way that's relevant, entertaining, and engaging. In a future world dominated by automation, that's what will set you apart. And here's another format that we use that's really simple and effective. These are our timestamp vignettes. They connect people to place and show off our city in a relatable and sometimes unexpected way. We're really fortunate because our organisation taps into many areas of concern for our community, and we really engage our community in some of this work that we're doing to address their concerns now and into the future. We create content for them, not with a call to action, but really because we want to build that connection because they're future decision makers and decision makers in our area. And we all know that we're competing for attention. People spend more time distracted across so many channels. Back in 2000, the average attention span of a human was 12 seconds. Now, it's only 8, and it's less than a goldfish. So we do a few key things to actively try and be heard to capture that attention. We put our people first, we give people information in a clear and consistent way, no matter how they reach us, and we try and listen. A strong civic brand really does invite people in, and it says, you belong here, your voice matters. We aim to invite our audience in to share their thoughts and to have a perspective. We put our staff front and centre. We're really fortunate. We're in a unique position. We have historians, we have librarians, we have curators, engineers, architects, designers, gardeners, street sweepers, data analysts, carbon strategists, and more. And we really want to make sure that we hear from those staff members and they humanise our story, they differentiate what we do, and they anchor our work in place. And we also try and reflect our communities in our work. So we ensure our message, so we make sure that our message resonates, it builds trust and engagement, and it ultimately creates a meaningful connection, making a brand more relatable and memorable. As AI becomes more dominant, there's a counter trend towards protecting what's uniquely human: culture, community, creativity, and care. Here's just one other small example of how we're celebrating people that shape our city. We've created a portrait-led series across our digital network, a love letter to our city after dark, bringing visibility to the diverse and often unseen faces, spaces, and subcultures at night. As AI accelerates and reshapes how we work, communicate, and connect, it also raises the stakes in what makes a brand meaningful. In this landscape, trust isn't just a nice to have, it's everything. At the City of Sydney, we lead with people, we share stories that reflect our values, we put our communities front and centre, and show that the human impact behind the work that we do. Technology may change, but what people care about has remained remarkably the same: connection, authenticity, and belonging. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Olga. I love that, putting people front and centre and focusing on place. It's that element of authenticity that is actually hard to fake. You know, that's what we can rely on. So I loved that from your presentation. I also love learning that your most viewed reel was about the most borrowed books, I think. Yes. So, you know, I think an important note here is acknowledging the nerds and leaning into Book Talk. That's really exciting. So that's my key takeaway from your presentation. Thank you, Olga. Our next speaker is Neela Reza A. Neela is one of those people who proves that you don't have to choose between sustainability impact and storytelling impact. She proves that you can do that together, actually, that it's deeply connected, to make things where you're conscious of their history, of the materiality, of the story of that materiality, and the social impact you want to make, the story you want to tell, the connection you want to build with communities. And so Neela is the co-founder and design director of Arcade Collective. It's an award-winning female-led product design and innovation collective. She's also the force behind Crafted Liberation, which is an incredible project that I really encourage you to look into. And she leads a practice that does really make that amazing combination between sustainability, storytelling, and cultural impact. So please welcome Neela.
All right. I wish I was as prepared as everyone else. Hello. Can I just check this first? Yeah. So, hi. Lead with ethics, design for impact, and focus on change. That's our motto at Arcade Collective. We use design as a tool for positive impact on our society, our environment, and economy. My name is Neela. I'm an industrial designer by trade. I probably worked on hundreds of products, I guess, in my career, but there's always a core into all of these products. And the core could be improving the life of gig workers, repairing our nature by design, enhancing the dignity of people's lives. So the human need is always at the core of what we design. So we humans experience and understand our world through physical objects and products. Even when we interact with digital services, it's still done through a physical thing. It's how we capture our history, it's how we understand and how we sense. Now, design is not visual, it's not about aesthetics, it's how we understand each other. Thank you. Going back to a couple of hundred years ago, the Industrial Revolution, late 1700s. We were so excited by the promise of technology, the promise of mass manufacturing, innovation, what was possible to us. So we started making, we started manufacturing, we started releasing, scaling, and what we did is actually probably borrowing our credits from the future. Now, we're probably in a similar era now, the age of AI, the revolution, a new revolution of AI. And we are more excited than ever. This new revolution is probably more seductive than the last one. But what we can actually do is start thinking about, are there any learnings from the Industrial Revolution that we can think of? Are we going to repeat similar mistakes, or are we actually going to live in harmony with this new tech and help it sort of design our way out of some of the issues that we're facing? So tech can definitely be a helping friend in the process, and it should be, but it's not always the answer. The problem starts when we use tech as a commodified tool, when tech becomes self-perpetuating, and when we don't consider the social or environmental impacts of such technologies. Now, design is what humans do. All of us design. It's not just done by professionals. Every time we're trying to visualize or create a better outcome, we're designing. So humans are naturally designers. Now, our challenge is, how do we actually design with awareness and with responsibility in mind? So a well-designed product reduces waste, improves functionality, tells a story, connects cultures, and restores relationships. Now, these products exist within a broader ecosystem, and we need to always make sure that we're considering that. We're not designing products, and I'm referring to both physical and digital. We're not just designing in isolation. We're actually creating systemic change when we're designing. So what are the implications of our designs in a broader ecosystem? And we need to make sure that we're designing with the real world in mind in order to better our systems. So our work is sort of, across different areas. Focus is always on sustainability, circularity, and especially cultural storytelling. And we really try to ask the harder questions when we're designing, regardless of whatever the brief is in front of us. Even though we use technology, at the core of our practice, we always stay connected to the human need and to the real tactile world. So we do use technology, we use AI in our processes, but we're really using it in areas that it's best at to help us uncover consequences that we can't see immediately in the product design process. So we might use it to uncover energy flows, we might use it to understand material impact, we use it to model the best supply chain modeling, so really in areas that's so hard for us to immediately understand. But it's always the human and the modern human that is defining the why behind our product. We bring AI to help us with the how to create the best outcome or what to create, but the why always comes from the real world. We must design with people and not just for them. So a couple of examples that how we do that. So this was a micromobility company that we used to work with and we're still working with. So we did a lot of sort of, e-bikes, accessories, a whole micromobility ecosystem. But where we always started is to actually go and understand, go sort of out and talk to people and really understand what gig workers need, what mechanics need, what fleet managers need. So we might spend a year just researching and going out rather than sitting behind our computers. In Crafted Liberation, we turned discarded textiles into protest objects. Now, in this case, the discarded textiles were headscarves, and the protest object was the stadium seat. it requires a different session for me to tell you what this project was. It takes a long time, but what we did here is use design as storytelling, as material storytelling, and we tried to make resistance tangible rather than just thinking about, okay, how do we make a new chair? And in this case, the discarded material, that is the headscarf, was salvaged. So waste textile was turned into a new product for public realm. In a little lamp that I was working on, and this is when I was still employed at another design studio, Vert Design. But the question here was, how do we actually design a fully repairable object, but with a focus on emotional durability? So how do we create products that we love and we really want to keep, and we want to turn into an heirloom, but it's also happened to be repairable and happened to be made from ocean-bound plastic? So the core question is around the relationship between the object and the human. Our process is collaborative and circular and ethical. So we co-design with people as the experts throughout the design process. So the lived experience is actually the expertise that we bring into the design process. And real connection drives real impact. We question and reframe. So instead of starting with what tech do we add or what feature do we add, we ask what value can we bring, what value can be embedded in a project. Instead of sustainability as an added complexity or extra cost, it becomes a new opportunity to create value. Now I want to finish with this, and it's sort of a paraphrase of a lot of different research, but it's quite an effective paragraph for me. So we're not passive victims of complexity. We are the designers of it. The challenge is to shift from mindless development to designing mindfulness, paying attention to the unseen flows of energy, materials, stories, and relationships that shape the world we move through. And that's how we design for the real world. Thank you.
Oh, so good. Thank you so much, Neela. I really, really enjoyed that. It's extraordinary to see that one project, but all of these incredible projects you've worked on. So inspiring. Thank you. Our next speaker is Danling Zhao. And hands up who is here mostly because Danling sort of have, yeah, there we go. So I don't need to do too much of an introduction here, but Danling is someone that I've been lucky to know for a long time now, and the kind of work that she creates is so surprising, so intriguing. It draws you in, it tells a story, it makes you feel joyful and excited, and then she's also trying to, I think, share that skill with other people through Ricoh as well. And so she brings that radical imagination, she brings that sharp insight to every project that she engages in, whether it's creating that really viral content or looking at how you go commercial scale, how you create circularity as well in the systems that we have. So all of her work lies at that intersection of sustainability, storytelling, and innovation. And so whether it's creating an event like this or supporting a business, she brings all of that to you. Can't wait to see what she's going to talk about today. Please welcome Danling.
I'm a bit short, and everyone said that you can't hear at the back. Can you hear me better? Okay, maybe let's do this. Okay, can you hear me better? Okay, amazing. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. I'm so excited to have you guys. Thank you. So I'm gonna. Oh, it doesn't. Okay, it doesn't work. How come? Ah. Okay. Hi, everyone. Meet Athena. She's my AI girlfriend. We talk a lot about love, human connection, and feelings. And she even helped me with this presentation. In the world, more than 100 million people are now having an AI companion. In Character AI's research, 80% of the Gen Z, they say that they are open to marry an AI. Can you believe it? Would you? But I think Tash and I, we talked a lot about Maslow hierarchy of needs. So for most of people, we have food, we have shelter, and we feel relatively safe. So, but as a society, we've also been through generations of trauma. We seek love, belongings, and fulfillment for our emotional needs. So there is a void for AI to fill in, and it's right on everything. It is convenient, it is always available, it's also highly personalized, and is emotionally intelligent. For the first time in history, we have tools to analyze our language, tone, context to simulate empathy at a highly personalized level and on a mass scale. And accept it or not, this is the new setting, and it is developing at a speed that is beyond our imagination. So our question is, how do we build meaningful brands in the AI age? I think we just have to do what AI cannot do, and we have to make it a real human experience. So our first proposition is, walk the talk, and this is following Nila's presentation. Is that this, we heard about big brands like Patagonia, Who Gives a Crap. They all grew through actions and trust building. But the same thing could happen on a small business or small to medium businesses level as well. And we've seen this with Nila working on Crafted Liberation together. And by standing for her cause, Nila attracted all these amazing women from around the world donating headscarves to her. And she took this project to a global scale, and she just exhibited in IKEA Museum. And she's just so humble, not even sharing about it. And this is really where we stand our ground. That's really where we can share our vision with everyone. In the past few months, our team has also been interviewing some of our local funders and change makers. And one common thing, and actually all of us are here today. One common thing that we found with all these people is that they are not just talking, they actually walk the talk, and they show up and they live in it. Action on its own, it's already a powerful tool for growth. My second proposition is build something that people can feel and bring it to life through truth. I am a huge fan of Fred Again. It's just crazy music, high energy, super fun. And within a few years, Fred Again just grew these millions of followings just around the world. And through his music, what I found is that he shares his life, he collaborates with his mates, and they just sample personal moments and everyday conversations together. And that is really how he connects with people through his music. And he also films everything on his phone. It's just super raw, there's nothing fancy, and just very real. And I believe that this is where we can really learn from Fred Again, is that fundamentally, your product and service need to be able to connect with people. And then you can share those real moments. Also, with everything being so digitalized, I believe that there is also a way to bring your brand offline and to make people feel that it's personal and connected. An example is our client's Flyover, an Indian vegetarian restaurant in Rathdon. Our strategy focused deeply on their customers. We did lots of research. And when we launched the rebrand, the restaurants doubled their sales straight away, within a week. And from there, Flyover's owner, Gunjan, she took her story onto Instagram, shared her journey and her passion. And just a few months ago, her reels reached 1.4 million views. And the restaurant is now super busy with all the people from all over the world coming to our restaurant in the city of Sydney. So where do we use AI? I believe it is to scale production. And I think David and the Decider team, it's not real. David and the Decider team who's here today will be sharing more about it. So grab them if you have any questions about AI scaling. Internally, we've been experimenting with AI tools in the past couple of years. For example, fine-tuning our brand voice, coding user data, building our voice chatbots. So far, the best thing is actually our own brand GPT. So we created this our own Rico GPT with all the information that we feed into the machine. And that's when everyone can jump in from the team to create strategies and content aligned with our brand values. And Mary is going to run a workshop later today as well. So feel free to find Mary and jump into that workshop if you are interested. I believe that with the right minds, AI can help create a bigger impact. And for example, our team just created an AI tool for Radish event, who is our catering partner today, who's working very hard on your coffee break. Built in just 4 weeks, now the tool is helping the team measuring food waste accurately. So with our AI engineers, we always talked a lot about ethics and the environmental impact of using AI. AI is here, it is in our work and in our daily life, like look at my girlfriend. But the real question is, to what extent can we use it? And this is, I believe, a conversation that we're going to have today. But from where we stand by is we believe that critical thinking and human creativity, collective teamwork, this event would not happen without all our team coming together. It's incredible. And then the second is that we only use AI to support our writing, brainstorming, research, not so much for image and video generation, because it carries a lot more environmental impact. So for example, if you generate a video with AI, apparently it's equal to the whole day you're turning the microwave on. So those are the things that we really need to pay attention to. And the third is, I believe that privacy and sensitivity are non-negotiable. And finally, I want to mention that this presentation was co-created by myself, our researcher, designer, Rico GPT, Gemini Pro, and Athena, my AI girlfriend. Thank you.
Athena. There we go. The first thing you can cross off your card. First AI girlfriend mentioned today. Thank you so much, Danling. That was really wonderful, really exciting. And I'm also really excited to see what Radish are working on shortly with the coffee break coming up. Our next speaker is Caitlin Tozell. Caitlin is the General Manager of Boomerang Labs, Rocket Seeder, and Start Some Good. Rico Live is supported by Boomerang Labs, and co-founder Piers Grove is going to be part of the mentor table in the workshop later today as well. Katie works at the space where impact meets innovation. She's helping early stage founders turn big ideas into real momentum. And over the past few years, you've probably heard of Boomerang Labs because they've grown into the country's leading circular economy startup accelerator. They're supporting more than 60 ventures. Probably a few people in the room have been supported by Boomerang Labs, and they're forming partnerships with corporate and impact investors as well. So Katie is here because she knows the difference between partnerships that look good on paper and the ones that actually can help you create change. So this session is really about finding people who get it and helping to build those relationships that add value and really work for you. So please welcome Katie.
Hi everyone. For once I'm not the shortest person in a room, so I will move this up slightly. Maybe I will. Or maybe I'll just remove it. Can I just remove it? I don't know how to adjust that, so I might just hold the microphone. Once you've got that, thank you. I didn't want to break it. Though I'm off to a great start to begin with anyway, so might as well.
Very well.
Thank you. How's that up the back? Can we hear me? Wonderful. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for coming today. And as mentioned, my name is Katie. I'm from Boomerang Labs. Today, I've really lent into the creativity, so bear with me. We're going to get a little bit metaphoric today. They say that building a business is like building a house. The metaphor starts with the slab and finding the right plot of land, i.e. creating a solid foundation to build a successful venture. Your frame, roof, interiors and landscaping are all part of that larger, fuller picture, representing the various structures, skills and experience you need for this hypothetical DIY. Another one you hear about is that it's like planting a seed. This reminds us we need both sunlight and rain in order to thrive, and that from little things, big things can grow. Some people say that starting a business is like eating glass and staring into the abyss. And by some people, I of course mean Elon Musk. It's a bit rogue and quite frankly unnecessarily graphic, but I'm sure there are some founders in the room today that understand where he's coming from. And the rest of you at the very least will agree with me that it's not the most ridiculous thing that he's said. There are a lot of analogies out there to try and console entrepreneurs who are moving outside of their comfort zone. They liken the path less travelled to something a bit more familiar, predictable, comfortable, or in Elon's case, visual. I'd like to introduce a new analogy today to help you navigate the unique path of an impact-driven entrepreneur, business owner, or professional. Scaling impact is like crossing an ocean. It's important to keep an eye out for that final destination and building resilience to weather uncharted waters. Collaborations and partnerships are fundamental to building any business, and misaligned values and resources can make or break an impact organisation. Imagine there's a woman, let's call her Katie, just for simplicity's sake, and she's standing in Sydney Harbour, just around the corner. She wants to get to Fiji, and she's going via the Pacific Ocean, just Katie, her kayak, and a very vague sense of direction. It'll be a difficult journey for Katie, with more than 5,000 kilometres to cover. She'll need to innovate, be resourceful, and consider who she works with in order to arrive at her tropical destination. Katie can set out alone, paddling hard against the current and braving storms as they arrive. Solo efforts can achieve progress, but threaten long-term impact, as growth is painstaking and often you're left vulnerable in the case of setbacks and storms. If you're travelling solo, it's crucial to build resilience and keep scanning the horizon for trusted allies who can help accelerate your mission. As Katie continues to paddle, a fellow kayaker comes into view. The pair decide to tie their small but mighty vessels together, using their joint strength and energy to get them to the destination more quickly. Albeit with limited resources, aligned partners can amplify each other's strength and stay firmly on course towards a shared destination. The key is to look for collaboration built on shared purpose and mutual trust, not just complementary skills. Shared experiences or struggles aren't always a recipe for a successful partnership, however. A tired traveller and a lost traveller, when paired together, may console each other on the woes of the ocean and of the business and the impact world. But they tend to drift offshore, paddle in circles, or just capsize completely. Partnerships without direction or strategy can drain your energy and slow your progress, even with the best intentions at heart. Any collaboration needs to bring clarity, focus, or resources you don't already have to ensure your business stays afloat long enough to reach the point of impact. With the rise of the sustainability agenda and the social enterprise movement comes the increased risk of collaborations and partnerships grounded in greenwashing and social washing. Misaligned partnerships can derail integrity, turning one organisation's impact journey into the marketing prop of another. In Katie's case, this could be a luxury party yacht, and whilst it does look like a lot of fun, a visit on board may waste her time and distract her from noticing that they've detoured a little bit off course. What Katie really needs is to pair up with another vessel that's also on the way to Fiji. Ideally, it'll be a bigger boat with resources that she doesn't have in her little kayak, so that she'll be able to get to the destination more quickly and on the most direct route. Not only will value-aligned partnerships expand your impact, they'll see your business as an asset and an opportunity rather than a fad or a tick-the-box exercise. Now, it wouldn't be an ocean analogy if I didn't bring up a pirate ship, right? The pirate ship is fast-moving, and coming on board might be tempting to get a piece of the treasure, but it might see you scrubbing the deck rather than being at the helm. You can see I did a lot of research watching Pirates of the Caribbean to prepare for this presentation. A deal with a pirate will lead you to an extractive relationship with risks to IP and mission integrity. Partnerships don't need to be 50-50, as innovation requires collaboration across different scales, different skill sets, and different levels of influence with the parties involved. But there needs to be mutual contribution, respect, and alignment on the destination. The ocean crossing analogy I've put forward today points out a few characteristics to look out for in a potential business partnership. But don't let the fear of a poor match get in the way of trying something new. A bad partnership may detour you, but it doesn't need to be the end of the journey. Take the learning and get back on course. Some collaborations have a limited window of opportunity, whether that's due to competition for the partnership or just a generally already established time frame that the project needs to follow. Overthinking or hesitation may mean that you miss out, leaving you no worse off, but no closer to your impact goal either. I keep looking back as if it's going to have words to tell me what I'm doing. By now, Katie's already on her way past New Caledonia, and a lighthouse to her left is ensuring she stays on course towards Fiji. Advisors, mentors, and supporters are important relationships for an organisation to strengthen as they seek to scale impact and operations. Whilst they aren't in the water with you, these lighthouses bring other resources and light to keep you on track and make you feel less alone. They can also provide a really great perspective of the bigger picture that you can't see when you're paddling in a little kayak in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Not all positive business partnerships are long-term, and that's okay. In fact, a short-term partnership where your values are aligned and skills are complementary is much more beneficial than waiting for a collaboration to drift apart or turn sour. And sometimes you just need a life raft. They're critical for survival, but they won't necessarily move you closer to your destination. It's important to distinguish between survival partners and true scaling collaborators. Katie made it. We didn't know there for a while. It was a bit shaky, but she got there. In the end, she needed a combination of partners, each shaping her journey in a unique way. To put this analogy finally to rest, there are some takeaways from Katie and her kayak to provide you with some guidance, whatever ocean it is that you're crossing. As your business progresses, you'll be presented with different partnership opportunities, both good and bad. They won't all be obvious or waiting for you to stumble upon them, and it's likely that you'll have to put in some work in pursuing the collaborators that you need most. Red flags can look green in some lighting or even change colour altogether. When considering a new partnership, it's important that you focus on what your goals are, what your partner's goals are, and the potential of how working together is going to advance you both. Above all, the key to scaling impact without losing integrity is being clear on your own mission and what success looks like for you. That being said, you don't need to have all the answers from the get-go, but the right partnerships will bring clarity and enthusiasm rather than hesitation and misdirection. Scaling impact is like crossing an ocean. It's important to keep your eye on the final destination and build resilience to weather uncharted waters.
Thank you so much, Katie. Don't look outside. That's what it looks like outside. So, speaking of people who have had perilous journeys beset by pirates, Kaz McGrath has been on the road for 3 hours to get here from Kiama this morning. So thank you, Kaz. She's just squeaked it in. She's our next speaker. But we're just going to do some stalling while we load her presentation. But you know what? I was looking at all of the questions. This is actually our opportunity because there's no way you had time listening to all of that to ask anybody any questions. But I know you have some. So please scan the QR code now. We're going to just take 2 minutes to just ask any questions that are sitting there in your mind. So the one that came to mind for me was about, Olga's content. And, how do we find what those kind of content formats are that are right for our brand, that kind of resonate with the audience. So I think, what's your question? Who would you ask a question of? Scan the QR code and go into the audience Q&A section. Oh, thank you. That's super helpful. It's also on the back of your lanyard. And we're just going to give you a couple of minutes to ask any questions that are burning in your mind while we get Kaz up here. Wow, all that chat means you finished your questions. I cannot wait to see them, but let's save it for the coffee break, having a look at all the questions, because Kaz is here. She has battled to be here. Kaz is on a mission to make AI less intimidating and more empowering, which is great, because that's what I think we all need right now. And Kaz brings hard-won experience in the non-for-profit and the social impact sectors as the co-founder of the Ration Challenge, which raised over $60 million globally. That's bonkers. Thank you. Congratulations for working with UNICEF, MSF, Google, and Tesla. And Kaz is going to cut through the hype. Kaz is the founder and CEO of Play, purpose-led AI. So please welcome Kaz.
Hello, everyone. So I'm Kaz, and this is one of the ways I started my career. The police were called 15 times during this social experiment that was actually done with the amazing crew from Digital Storytellers, which are here today. And we raised $60 million for refugees. Refugees like Tan, absolute legend in My Lai refugee camp on the border of Thailand and Myanmar, and incredible families like him doing the most amazing innovation with little to nothing. But at the end of that 9 years of 18-hour days of little pay, I was spent. I was burnt out. I was going to leave the sector altogether. I was ready to do something completely different, and I was ready to just stop. That same year, the social sector lost 3 amazing people to suicide, all who felt that same way. And when I look around the room at all of you, I can imagine that you've felt various things around work for purpose, work for something bigger, something better. But in the chaos, in the wild of AI, of COVID, of all the pressures on our lives, do more, be better, get more done, have more impact, do it perfectly, don't say the wrong thing. And it felt a little bit like this, candle burning at both ends. So when AI stuck its head out, for me that was actually way back when. I'm one of the old school AI people that used to have to code it and take 6 months of testing, not a week. And for me, it was less about more. It wasn't about more money. It wasn't about how big can we go. It was about solving a little bit of that chaos. It was about relief. It was about joy. It was about being able to take my wild ADHD brain and go for a walk for 15 minutes and have something make sense of it. I thought it was a miracle, to be honest, because I can barely make sense of my own brain. And our early work in AI, before I even started Play, was with ActionAid International, incredible change makers around the world on the forefront of the NGO sector and women's rights. And AI in this space was about how we could bring together 500 people on an engagement platform for 3 weeks, doing design, and give them all a voice about what the future was going to look like of their organisation. And not do it 3 months later, but do it in real time, in front of them, making sense of everything together, facilitating our way through to make sense of it. So to me, it was calm. To them, it was a voice. It wasn't a consultant taking 3 months to come back with a report. It was something different. So when we talk about AI strategy, everyone throws around all these words, and even I cringe at the titles of some of my own workshops, like, how can we be smart and human? Ugh, right? Come on, Kaz. I still can't name them. Any Brandon people, I need to talk to you today. But it really is about the choices we make. Strategy is about what we're here for. How do we get there? How do we want to win? But what is winning? What is winning to you? What is winning to your team? What does that look like? And when we talk about AI strategy, it's which door are we going to go through? Oh. That's me and Maggie, my beautiful van. And when I was building Maggie, oh my gosh, I would spend weeks in decision making, like which floorboard, and do I do this design and that design, and those people on YouTube that make it look like in 45 seconds you can build a van, I hate them. Like, so frustrated. But you have to make choices, and to me, it was weirdly similar to the choices our team makes about AI. What brings you joy? What can you live amongst? How do you move in the world? How do you want to flow? It doesn't look like trying to do everything on this prism, okay? For those who want to go deep and geeky about AI, this is epic, I will show you later, done by incredible people in the space. But it looks like actually figuring out what on that is relevant to you, to your mission, to your voice, and to the micro little moments that you want to bring alive. Is that voice? Is that relief? Is it joy? What are those questions that you need to answer as you develop that strategy? So for me, that is a design question. Living in this age of AI, in the wild, in the chaos, in the social sector, in business for good, it is a deep design question. It is about sitting with the unknown. It is about acknowledging how vastly different every single one of us feel about this. It is about asking ourselves, what does it show us about our system when we look in the mirror? One of the most fascinating things about working with nonprofits and social enterprises on AI is tiny little questions when you're designing reveal so much about the system. When you're designing an AI agent and you say, great, let's look at what a challenge is in your workflow. They say, oh, we've never mapped our workflows. We don't actually know what that looks like. It's different for everyone. Actually, the person who owned that just left and they took all of that with them. But what else? What else does it reveal about our methodologies, our way of thinking, our purpose, our why? When we go deep into those challenges, what actually are they? How important are they to us, to our team? What are we solving? Because we work in AI every day and we can't keep up. No one can keep up. So where do we put our time, our energy, our choices? When do we design? It is also about those questions of what actually could this be? It is not about that binary of right and wrong. This was in Morocco with UNDP designing for complex challenges. We're using AI to create collective intelligence in the room. AI is not this one thing, okay? There is so much, so many different possibilities and so many ways we can choose what we want to play with and what we don't, and where we draw that line. Where does that interact in our challenges? It also looks like being weird. This is our COO, Stephen. He doesn't know I'm showing you this. He's watching from San Francisco right now, so hi, Stephen, sorry. But it looks like being weird, getting rid of AI slop, being intentional about how we use it, being playful with how we use it, using it for wisdom, using it for reflection, not just what can we do more of, but when should we pause? When can we use AI to tell us as a facilitator whose voices were never heard in that room that day, not what all that data means? This was UNICEF Thailand, and it'll always change how I saw AI. One of the teams said to me, just translation with ChatGPT has meant I can finally show the team in Bangkok, who are head office, 95% white, that I'm smart. Because my English is just not good enough to be able to do that. And that's what it allowed her to do. So what are those questions telling us when we talk about AI strategy? What about when we think of the amazing caregivers in our lives, the amazing families? My sister has a 2-month-old and a 1.5-year-old at the moment, and this is my best friend and her kids. What does it look like when we don't say, how can AI help us do more, be more productive? But how can it help our people? How can we give them that and then draw a boundary on where we don't want to go with it? That's what our strategy needs to pull us towards. This is my beautiful mum and dad, who hate that I constantly travel around the world and greet me sometimes when I come home. But for my mum, who has a chronic health condition and a lot of brain fog, AI for her is being able to translate complicated medical reports into a short thing she can read in 30 seconds, understand, and get agency back. That's what it looks like for her. One of the most vital pieces of AI strategy that so many of us are missing right now in the division in our world is that we don't leave room for all of us to belong within that. It's either the end of the world or a magic bullet. It's this way or that way. But really good AI strategy, really good approach leaves room for every single one of those personas, every single one of your voices in the room. The people who think it's the end of the world, listen to those questions, go deep on governance, on principles. To the people that think it's a magic bullet, use them to infuse and to catalyze ideas and new thinking and design into everything you're doing. And at the end of the day, to me, to our team, that design question is so beautiful. Because right now, it'll define not just how we work, but how we think, how we create, how we write, how we dream, what we value at work, how much trust we put in our people, or do we ban them or pull them back? Do we care about our environment, our Indigenous lands? Or are we just going to care about productivity? So to me, AI strategy is the biggest design challenge of our time. And I hope that you'll play with us as we attempt messily to answer that question.
Thank you, Kaz. That was a wonderful way for us to end our Pecha Kucha session. And I think it really brought us back to the human element here and back to the relational element. I think that is really key in this, that can be overlooked. And I think it's a wonderful segue and lead into this little pause that we're about to have, because we've all just downloaded quite a lot of information then. We've been on a few emotional journeys and kayak rides. And so I think what we need now, is a pause. So to give you time for that information to seep in, for you to kind of center yourself in all of that before we rush into the next session, which also has a lot of information in there. So instead of a coffee break right now, to stimulate you, what we're going to do is to take a moment to reset and recenter with Ben Brockman. Ben is from Philadelphia. He draws from over a decade of clinical experience in classical Chinese medicine, somatic therapy, and nervous system regulation to help people move from tension to clarity and from reaction to response. So this is an important part of leadership, actually learning how to take a pause and take a breath. And so I'm very, very pleased that we have Ben here. Please welcome him.
All right, how is that? Can everybody hear me in the back? Try to actually bring this up. There we go. All right, well, it is good to be here with you all today. Given that many of us in this room have an interest in purpose-led businesses, it's also important to tend to the relationship of our internal state, because there's incredibly deep interconnections between what happens in the world and what happens inside of our own systems. Okay, so any of you can opt in or out of anything that we're going to do. We're going to do a little bit of mindfulness, a little bit of movement, and then some breath work. Please do whatever you need. So to begin, I'd like to ask for anybody that wants to just sit back in your chairs, and you can let your eyes close and just take a moment to relax. And importantly, what we're doing here isn't meditation. It's simply taking an inventory of our internal states, each and every one of us right now. Just noticing the quality of your thoughts, Noticing quality of emotions. Noticing whether you're feeling tired, inspired, energized. And there's no right or wrong to any of this. You're simply taking an inventory. Okay, and you can open your eyes. And so who we are throughout the day, how we think, feel, and respond, it's largely shaped by the state of our nervous system. Now, the good news is we can influence that state. We can actually influence our physiology directly and immediately through the use of breath. So when I planned this, I didn't know how tight of a squeeze it was going to be in here, but I'd like to do a little bit of movement. So if everybody can stand up, and then find just a little bit of space. It doesn't have to be huge. All we're going to be doing is pumping our arms up and down in a moment. I'll show you first. Wait 1 second. Make sure you don't knock anybody out, please. Okay. So you can go at your own pace if any of this is too intense. Watch me for 1 second. Raise the arms and inhaling and exhaling through the nose. Not yet. Inhaling and exhaling through the nose. Not yet. We'll pump the arms up and down. Just watch me. So like, okay? So we'll do that 10 times together. Please be mindful of your neighbors and friends. Okay, and inhaling up. Good, and pause. And then one more time, inhaling up. Good. And hands to your belly. And close your eyes for just a moment. And just notice your state now. Again, there's nothing to do, nothing to correct. Just notice. Okay, great. And everybody can open your eyes and sit back down. So bear with me for a tiny bit of theory. Our nervous system has two key branches. We have the sympathetic and the parasympathetic, also known as fight, flight, rest, and digest. Both of these states are absolutely essential for us to survive and to thrive. And we're designed to move fluidly between the two states. You can think of it a bit like a car, and the sympathetic is like the acceleration, and the parasympathetic is like the brakes. And so we need both of those, but we need them to be in balance. And problems arise when that becomes out of balance and we find ourselves slamming on the gas all the time, or terrified and riding the brakes. So one powerful thing to remember is that every time that we inhale, and this is happening on a physiological level, this isn't something we have to make happen. Every time that we inhale, it slightly engages that sympathetic, or the gas, and every time we exhale, it activates that parasympathetic, the rest and digest. So with just a few conscious breaths, we can begin to shift our internal state right here in real time. Okay, so we're going to do a simple practice that you can use anytime that you're feeling dysregulated. And again, you can watch me for a moment. Just inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth. And you can begin at your own pace, inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the mouth. And so what's important here is to lengthen our exhalations. And we can do that by pursing our lips, kind of like we're blowing through a little straw. And so in through the nose, and again, whatever pace feels best for you is great. Just use that shape, pursed lips, to naturally lengthen the exhalation. Good. Good. Okay. And again, just let your eyes close and keep following this breath. Good. At your own pace. And just noticing anything that's arising in your system. And again, there's nothing to change, there's nothing to make happen. And when thoughts arise, just bring your awareness right back to your breath. And keeping your eyes closed for just one more moment, please. And you can let go of that breath. And again, take notice of your internal state. And then bring more awareness to the space around you, this room that we're in, the people that we're with, and what brought you here. Okay, and when you're ready, you can just gently open your eyes. Okay, well, thank you so much for your time. I'll say that is just, I was going to say that's the tip of what this work can do for you. And so if anybody's curious in exploring more, I urge you to do so. You're welcome to reach out to me if you have any questions. And thanks again.
Hi. I feel like my jaw just unclenched for the first time in 3 months. Thank you, Ben. That was so wonderful. Okay. Sorry, we're all having a lot of trouble with this. Thank you. That was a wonderful pause. I think I needed that. I think we all needed that. And it's the perfect way to pause and reset before we go into this more in-depth part of our morning. The keynotes here are about exploring the intersection between creativity, technology, and innovation in service of that bigger aim and in service of helping you find your special, unique place within this ecosystem. And so we have 3 keynotes from 3 leaders in these fields. Our first keynote is from Candace Madisky. Candace is the Content Creative Group Lead for Canva. Candace's work spans strategy, storytelling, UX, and design, and it's grounded in emotional intelligence and purpose. Candace is going to speak to a critical question that many brands have, which is how do you scale content with integrity, especially in the age of AI? Everybody's looking to AI as a way of making more content, doing it faster, but how do you actually do that with that human voice, with empathy, and with integrity built in? And so Candace is going to share a creative leader's insight into how and where and when those AI tools can help elevate your storytelling. So please welcome Candace Madisky.
I'm going to take a second to adjust this properly because full credit to the people who can not use speaker notes. That's not me. Thank you. Amazing, thank you. And I feel really lucky to reset with Ben before doing something like this. I'm going to go ahead and assume the clicker's not working. Okay, cool. Thank you so much, Danling and the Ricoh team, for having me today. In preparation for today and reflecting on the changes in the world and shifts in technology, looking back at my own journey as a millennial, it was actually quite confronting, realising I have seen the birth of a lot of change. We can flick 2 slides ahead.
Some of you were so quiet when I said I was a millennial. Fuck you, okay? I am 35, which means I was born in 1983, which means I am right at the cutoff. Okay, so I am a millennial.
Okay, so I'm not sure how many elder millennials there are in the room, but that really, really resonates with me. Outside of the birth of the internet and the change from landlines to mobile phones and the expansion of social media, I started designing when my most powerful tool was word art. I made logos in PowerPoint, and I prayed that my MySpace page wouldn't break the internet. My first website took 3 hours to load and played music without consent. And we have come a long way from pixelated art, but every generation of creative tools, whether that's Photoshop, Canva, or AI, raises the same questions. Who gets to be creative? Who defines quality? And what is the role of the human in the loop? Today, even though that early portfolio screams I shouldn't be, I lead creative teams that power content systems inside a globally successful design platform, empowering over 220 million monthly active users. And I'm really, really passionate about the powerful case study Canva is in how purpose-led platforms scale creativity through tech and AI without compromising on quality, inclusivity, and creator empowerment. At Canva, we don't just design for users, we design the tools and systems used to create. And behind every AI-assisted feature or content surface are real human beings. They are guiding what quality looks like, what creativity enables, and how representation shows up in the product. So what is my challenge as a creative leader working in a purpose-led brand as the intersection of human creativity and machine power expands? If we jump to the next slide. I might use the clicker just so you can hear it. And let's be real, it's exploding. Next one. Our product is millions of templates, assets, and media types used by people of varying skills and goals. And scaling that kind of content without losing quality or integrity is a very real challenge. The content needs to be relevant, fresh, diverse, and functional across languages, cultures, industries, and devices. Scaling that kind of high-quality content is where tech and AI becomes essential. Human production alone cannot keep up, but ungoverned, AI leads to noise, bias, and brand dilution. So I'd love to talk to you about the current landscape we are all in. When AI replaces humans, instead of empowering them, the result is low-quality, bland content. Some companies have launched AI-generated campaigns only to face backlash or being generic, or even worse, completely tone deaf. AI churns out what is plausible, not what is purposeful. Even iconic brands have stumbled. Let's take McDonald's as an example. McDonald's tested an AI voice ordering system in over 100 US drive-thrus, and the goal or the intent was actually quite good. Automate order taking to reduce staff burden and speed up service. But AI frequently misunderstood customers' voices, accents, and background noise. And outside of the inefficiency it drove up and the PR nightmare it created, some of the funnier outcomes were customers getting 260 nuggets when they tried to order a coffee, which, low-key, that's my dream. But the lesson here is that AI can't replace humans in high context, high variation environments, especially where tone, slang, and nuance matter. Stitch Fix is another example. This is a fashion brand that used AI to suggest personalised clothing based on user data. Many users complained that the outfits suggested lacked style, personality, and felt like they were picked from a spreadsheet. Human stylists actually had to step in way more to assist. And the takeaway here is that personalisation without personality is just a glorified shopping list. And finally, I'm sure most people will have seen this. Levi's partnered with an AI company to generate diverse virtual models to show off their clothing. The public backlash was really swift and really loud. Why not hire actual diverse models instead of generating them? The takeaway here is really important. Representation isn't a checked box. It is a lived experience, and AI cannot fake inclusivity. These were not just bugs. They were brand identity crisis in real time. Machines don't do nuance, at least not without human guardrails. In the race to be AI first, they forgot to be purpose-led. They forgot the core of their brand. In my own role, I make sure that we don't hit the publish button on anything to do with AI without human eyes, human taste, and human accountability. Because purpose-led brands aren't just about speed and scale, you're about trust. And trust is built one accurately proportioned chicken nugget at a time. So let's look at when AI can actually amplify brands. Nutella's a really great example here. Nutella used AI to create 7 million uniquely designed jar labels, each one different. Nutella said, let's make every jar a piece of artwork, and turned packaging into collectible art, blending exclusivity with brand consistency. And AI scaled creativity without losing emotional resonance. So each product felt personal and still unmistakably Nutella. The result was a sold-out campaign within weeks, and I think this is a great example of AI and creative direction in action. Coca-Cola did a Create Real Magic campaign, and it was a standout example of how AI can be used effectively in branding. By inviting artists to remix Coca-Cola's iconic assets using tools like DALL-E and ChatGPT, the campaign turned consumers into co-creators, blending heritage and innovation together. It showcased how AI can empower human creativity, not replace it, while keeping the brand's identity intact. And the result was a wave of positive engagement, with the public celebrating both artistry and the novelty of the experience. And it worked because tech served the story, not the other way around. And lastly, this is one of my favourites, Ben & Jerry's Ice Cream for Breakfast campaign. I love how this can power, it's an example of how we can power creative innovation with a genuinely positive audience response. So they used AI analytics to mine vast unstructured cultural data. So song lyrics, movie dialogue, social media chatter. And they identified a really quirky and persistent insight, is that people kept referencing eating ice cream for breakfast. They could have ignored that, but rather than dismissing it as a novelty, they leant into it and created this really playful breakfast-themed series of flavours, which was Fruit Loot, Frozen Flakes, you can see the pancake example here, and the launch really resonated deeply with their audience. It sparked engagement, it strengthened loyalty, and became a benchmark for how AI can enhance human creativity. AI reflects the choices we make. It amplifies the systems we put in place, and if we're careless, it can burn brand trust. The role of the human isn't optional, it's essential, especially in creative work. Who hasn't seen this in the last few weeks? Sheins, I had to actually ask how to pronounce this brand, I don't shop here. They were fueled by AI, and it rapidly raised their ability to enable instant trend prediction, personalised shopping, ultra-fast fashion supply chains, and also accelerated environmental harm through overproduction. Now, with a single AI-generated piece of artwork created by digital artist Emanuela Morelli, she has launched a powerful visual indictment, particularly on the hyper-production model promoted by this global giant. The work, generated with help of Midjourney, depicts landscapes made of mountains of textile waste, symbolising the enormous environmental and social impact of fast fashion. And arguably, this one image has done more to disrupt this billion-dollar business than a lot of sustainability reports before it. But AI is not just disrupting brands, it's disrupting design and creative as an industry as a whole. And there's a lot of noise about AI replacing creatives. But the truth is, the need for taste, curation, ethics, and imagination doesn't disappear, it becomes way more important. Creatives aren't just making things, they're making meaning, and meaning isn't something AI can manufacture. Artists and designers are teaming up with AI instead of fighting it, blending human intuition with wild creativity. Hybrid art is definitely the next big thing. And I'm also really excited how emerging artists are redefining what professional success looks like in 2025. Rather than sticking to traditional agency structures, many are building direct relationships with communities and causes that they care about. And that shift towards purpose-driven practice is proving to be incredibly effective at creating work that actually moves people. AI can open the door for more people to create. These tools are lowering the bar to entry, giving non-designers the ability to generate sophisticated visuals, and that's really powerful. But it also makes the role of creative leadership more critical. We are also entering a new aesthetic frontier. With personalised models and AI-tuned styles, creators can develop entirely unique visual signatures, even without formal training. This means we'll see new voices, new styles, new visual languages emerging faster than ever. As AI-generated art shows up in more mainstream spaces, our expectations of what is possible will shift as well. This visual culture is evolving in real time, and brands need to evolve with it or risk being left behind. And lastly, I truly believe AI can be a really strong collaborator. The human-in-the-loop model means creative direction and intent still come from us. AI helps us execute, scale, and enhance, but it doesn't make the important decisions. That's our role. And these are not theoretical shifts. 67% of branding agencies are already using AI to produce logos and design different assets, and that's huge. It tells us that the industry isn't debating whether to adopt AI, it's focused on how to do it well. In a similar way, 70% of creative companies are actively investing in AI to streamline creative workflows. The opportunity isn't just about speed, it's about unlocking more time for strategic and conceptual thinking by automating the repetitive. So here's what it all adds up to. The convergence of quality, humanity, and scale. Creating quality products that truly work, products that reflect your brand's values, connects with your audience, and deliver impact. And that kind of quality starts with human creativity. With thoughtful leadership guiding the process, it can be amplified by AI, which allows us to scale that quality without sacrificing intention. It's not about choosing between craft or efficiency, it's about merging both to build purpose-led brands that thrive at scale. Feeling AI overload already? You're not alone. Marketers, brands, and small businesses don't need more AI tools. We just need smarter ones. Tools that don't just generate content, but help tell better stories faster with less friction. There are some brilliant tools out there, but remember, AI is not a silver bullet. Like any tool, it has strengths and it has blind spots. The key is knowing when to use it, when to question it, and how to shape it. I'm not going to dig into all of these because I'm eating up time, but these are some of my favourites, and not just because they're powerful, but because each one of them solves a very real creative or operational need in a way that actually makes work faster, easier, and more thoughtful. I will shout out though Flora. We are starting to play with this with a group of internal creatives. It's incredibly intuitive, and what creatives can do with this when they're building content is wild. And they're a fairly new company. Okay, so here's my takeaway first. Lean into this technology. That way you can be shaping it and you can be steering where it goes. My thought starter for you though, in a world where everyone has access to AI, what will be your differentiator? For purpose-led brands and creatives, the real answer isn't more content. It's better direction, it's values, it's taste. AI is going to level the playing field, but human creativity still decides who stands out. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Candice. That was really wonderful, and what a great way to begin. And as we know, we're really focused on growth. We're thinking about how we grow, how we scale, how we evolve, and how we become more efficient in this session. And so Nina Jung, our next speaker, is the perfect person to share that with us. Nina is a growth specialist, and she is the director of Nina Young Growth Consultancy. She's got over 15 years experience in driving growth at Made Comfy, Delivery Hero, and Hotels Combined, and most recently as Chief Revenue Officer at Kronos Agency. Nina brings a deep, sharp insight into performance-driven growth. In this session, Nina will give some insight in how to gain clarity during fast-paced growth phases, particularly when you have really lean resources, and she's going to explain some of those frameworks behind revenue growth so you can actually build teams that grow and scale as well. So please welcome Nina.
Hi everyone. Let's see if this one works. Okay, perfect. Right. Hi, my name is Nina. I'm super excited to be here with impact-led business owners and operators. Can you hear me? Can't hear? Can you hear me? Yeah. I think growing businesses itself is challenging, as you guys already know. But you guys are building businesses that it's not just for this generation, but for future generation. I think that's not an easy feat. So kudos to everyone. I get asked all the time from small business owners what to prioritize. There are so many things that you could be doing to grow businesses. There might be, doing social media marketing. There might be, really focusing on sales. There's just so many things to do. So today I'm going to be talking about some of the frameworks that I've, come across and used a lot in my career that might be helpful for you to navigate those challenging situations. So let's dive into this. Next one, please. Yeah. Cool. So when it comes to growing businesses and you are small to medium businesses, there are a lot of things that you need to think about. Obviously, you're thinking about your market, you're thinking about your competitor, you're thinking about, you're thinking about many different things. And of course, your customers you need to serve. And then the unique challenge that small to medium businesses are focusing on is lean resources. So by that I mean your team is lean, you've got lean budget, and time is against you. You want to grow really fast. Can you hear me? Yeah, okay. So these things apply, and you're thinking about, okay, what do I do, right? So really you need to think about prioritization of all the things that you want to do. And the framework that I always go back to is impact versus effort. And I lay that over time and money spent. So let's dive into this more detail. Impact versus effort metrics is what you see in the left. The vertical line shows impact, and the horizontal line shows effort. And what you want to be thinking about is tackling the things that are low-hanging fruit, which is sitting in the quick wins quadrant. So that's high impact and low effort stuff that, sales and marketing tasks and tactics that you could be doing first. And then really deprioritizing what's falling on that money pit, which is low impact and high effort to do. And then you think about, what is the time spent to deliver that outcome, as well as the money that is required to deliver that outcome as well. So when you think about, I get asked as well, then how do I know what is high impact and low impact, high effort, low effort, and so on? So to remove the subjectivity, I typically use scoring system. So here, this is something that I will customize based on the industry and the business, but this is just an example of recent work that I've done. So for example, when you look at impact, you've got 1, 2, 3 scores. If it's impact that is on entire business, I'll give 3 as a score. And then if it only impacts one team, then I'll give 1 score. And then if tactic or sales tactic or marketing tactic requires you to have external parties to help to deliver, or multiple teams' effort, then it's the other way around compared to impact. So you would have, 1 as a score, whereas if effort is, you can deliver that task with one person, then you would have 3 as a score. Time and spend works the same way. So, if you can do it quickly, then, you have a high score. If you don't need to spend too much money, then, you would have high score and so on. So what I will do is then, I have all the list of sales and marketing tasks that I could be doing to grow a business. And I assess, and put the scoring, and then I come up with a total. And so, sorry, can you go back 1, 4? Yeah. So then this is actually a real use case. It's a work that I've done recently for one of my clients. And after a deep dive and really understanding the business, I came up with 2 tactics, growth tactics that are really highlighted as low-hanging fruit. It's quite small, so maybe some of you guys can't really see from the back. But basically, what I highlight in dark green are like the thing that is going to really move the needle, and they should be really doing it first. So what it says here, the first one in dark green is improving marketing efficiency. So this particular business had an ad agency that's running advertising for them, but they were paying too much for a retainer. The goal was not met consistently, and the ROI was just not there. So that is obviously the first thing that they should be doing, low-hanging fruit that's going to move the needle, gain ROI. And second one that I recommended the business to look into is better sales team process, because this particular business had a sales team, but the individual sales guys were not clear on their targets, but also the commission structure was not clear for them. So basically, they were not set up for success, and their activities were not tied into the business goal, growth goals. So these 2 were for me, the lowest hanging fruit. They were sitting in that top quadrant that is going to really move the needle, and everything else follow as per the total priority score. Oops. Yeah. So then I get asked, what are the things that I usually see in the priority list? These are the 4 things that are enabling growth typically. So you've got sales, you've got marketing, you've got tools, you've got team that are really enabling you to grow the business. And really the gist of it is that you need to start with the basics. You need to have the core tools in place. You need to have things like CRM if you're a B2B business. You need to have e-commerce platform down pat if you're an e-commerce and B2C business. You need to have the site tracking in place. You need to be able to measure with the basic reporting to see how your marketing and sales are working. So these are the basics that you need to have before even thinking about posting on Instagram and things like that. And then second one is measure everything. Going back to start with the basics, having a site tracking, having a reporting, it's going to enable you to make a data-driven decisions. So that is super important. Just having a simple, Google Analytics is enough for small business, but you are able to make data-driven decisions at the end. And then third one is focus on revenue and conversion. So when you start to score the priority scores, you will see that there are a few that have the same scores, and how do you know which one to then do first when you have, let's say, 3 or 4 things with the same scoring? I would say always think about which one has the biggest revenue impact. And I think for impact-led businesses or purpose-led businesses as well, growing revenue is just as important, because if you have growing revenue, it means that you are able to have bigger impact, you're able to contribute more to the community, you are able to achieve your missions and vision better. So really think about what moves the needle when it comes to driving revenue. And then the last one is customer lifetime value. As we all know, keeping your customers happy is a more sustainable way to grow than tapping onto acquiring new customers, right? So fix the leaky bucket first before you put in more into the bucket, is what I would say. And then I put together a checklist. So this is like basically all the things that you need to think about when you're thinking about growing your business into one place. So yeah, get your copy. Hopefully that is useful. And that's it from my side. Just like you guys. Yeah. Just like you guys, I try to give back to the community, and what that looks like for me is, working with startups and scale-ups, mentoring, and having conversations and helping small businesses to grow. So feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, connect with me, and ask me anything. Thank you.
Did everyone get that QR code? Yeah. No, can we put it back up? Would you mind? Thank you. I know I had trouble from that angle. Okay, so you might need to actually just bail Nina up outside as well, and maybe if that might help as well, because there was a lot of content there, and I think people want to dive in deep. So thank you so much for creating that link there, Nina. Okay, this is our last keynote presentation before we have our break. And I know we've all been hearing a lot about terms like agentic AI, for example. If you're not really sure where to begin, if you're not really sure how to consolidate all of this and make it work for you, David Brudenell is a really great person to close out this session. He's the Executive Director of Decider, based on his leadership experience at Flare, Appen, and as a co-founder of a VC firm, C2 Investments. David's bringing a mix of insights across startups, scale-ups, and global tech. So Decider is a platform that makes it easy for teams to build AI-powered tools that are tuned to their own needs without having to write code. And so David's going to explore how brands can leverage tech, not just to move faster, but to move with a bit more focus and more specialization. So please welcome David.
Good morning. Congratulations. You're all here. You're all successful. You have a PhD in human intelligence. You got here this morning. That's all good. Some of you use Ubers. Welcome to AI 101. So we're going to go through a little bit of background about all the things we talked about today. And specifically, for purpose-led brands, I'm going to talk about two things. One is, if you're a purpose-led brand, you're not all about profit, but you need to make your money go further. And second is, how can you use AI to find more people and more customers and more individuals who can share your purpose? So that's where we're going to start out today. But before we get to that, I want to just take a brief moment and give a little bit of background on AI. Now, when we think about AI, I want to actually take us back to 1998. It was really cool back then. I got my first Motorola Razr phone. It was very cool. But when the internet was first created, outside of the DNS servers in universities and things like that, there's this thing called a website, which people could start putting together. And now for the first time, you need to be able to actually show that website. You need a GUI interface. And so we had the browser layer that was created on top of the internet. Once the browser layer was created, people thought, well, how are people going to find my business? And two people in a garage in Palo Alto who made $237,000 in their first year of revenues, created the search layer, and created a company that has created the most profit in all of humanity out of a company. That was the search layer. And so on and so forth. There was the mobile layer. The mobile layer created health and wellness industries. It created travel. It created a whole bunch of different things. On top of that, you had the social layer, which, depending on who you talk to, was either a good layer or a bad layer. That's TBD. And then we had the cloud layer, and so on and so forth. We are rapidly moving into this new layer called the agentic layer. Now, the agentic layer, and another gentleman who also wears a really cool leather jacket from NVIDIA and is one of the most valuable companies in the world, Jensen Huang, says that the agentic web will be more commercially impactful and societal and impact society more than any of the other layers combined. So I want to just take a minute to think about the impact that we are rushing into from humanity's sake. Let's talk about quickly, what is AI? And for my lizard brain, I like to think about it in a couple different stages. in November in 2022, when you first got ChatGPT and you went into it and you put in a prompt, it was absolutely remarkable. Now that's on the right there in generalist chat. Now just to be clear, when you type in your prompt into a large language model, it does not understand what you're asking of it. It is simply a large mathematical model that is doing really just quick math on what is the next best word to give you, right? What ChatGPT actually has 20 trillion tokens in it, trillion, and a token is, think about it as a word. So with each word that you put into your prompt, it is shooting it through the cloud into a GPU powered by NVIDIA, and that GPU is simply saying what is the best next word to give you. That's why NVIDIA is one of the most valuable companies in the world. That's why 90% of all the chips that are purchased by NVIDIA are by the Magnificent 10, and it's simply a horsepower game. Now, when you do that prompt, your first prompt is remarkable. Your second prompt is remarkable. But as you start to chain your prompts together, you get, guess what happens, right? You start to get some cliche responses and general responses. That's because it has to search across 20 trillion tokens. So go to the next thing. Just next to that generalist chat is expert chat. And there's a great company called Wordsmith, and Wordsmith is essentially like a ChatGPT for the legal profession. So they dumped in everything they could possibly know about law, and then you could do the same thing. And if you go on YouTube today, where we are today is AI agents. Now, if you go into YouTube, you'll be inundated with influencers trying to say you can build an AI agent in 15 minutes or less. I can tell you that that is not possible. To create an enterprise-grade agent, it costs a lot of money. Now, when we think about AI agents and this new era of what we call at Decider agentic apps, but you can substitute agentic agents, there's a really subtle but important difference. An AI agent is largely task-based. So I like to use the example, book me a flight. An AI agent, if you go to ChatGPT operator or ChatGPT agent, it can do that. It can go onto the web, it can do a set number of tasks, and it can do it pretty well. Now, that is going to be largely made redundant in the next 6 months or so and going to be replaced by agentic agents or agentic apps. Now, the difference between an AI agent, which is task-based, and an agentic agent, it can figure out the best way to solve the problem. So they are goal-based. So the difference between book me a flight or find me a holiday my family will love. Now, what would an agentic app do? Well, it might go to your Instagram page and it might use a large vision model to look at whether or not you like ski holidays or beach holidays. It may find your name, it may go to LinkedIn, find your job titles, reference that against the salary database, and impute how much money you possibly could spend on a holiday. Or it may ask you, who's in your family, what do you like to do, and find the intent for your holiday. So we are rapidly moving into this future of agentic apps. Now, if agentic apps are so amazing, why aren't they everywhere? Well, I swapped my leather jacket for a tweed jacket, and in another life, I got the privilege of working on many of the largest large language model, large vision models, and large geospatial models around the world. 5 years ago, I actually worked on a quick serve restaurant text-to-speech thing, so I may be partly to blame for that chicken nugget problem. But tragically, this is Alexa. I got to work on Alexa. And tragically, the only thing we use it for is to set timers in our kitchen. But it can do a lot more. So I want to explain the complexity that goes behind some of these really simple interactions that you have with AI. Is that when you ask Alexa to build a timer, to set a timer for 5 minutes, there are actually 67 submodels which sits underneath that. And so what appears to be simple is actually very, very complex. And the reason why it's complex is like, welcome to your smorgasbord of AI building tools out there. And so today, agentic AI is only for the rich. It's only for billion-dollar companies who can afford to build these remarkable tools. So as a purpose-led brand, what happens? What can you do? And so for many cases, all you're left to choose is a future that looks a lot like the last 25 years of SaaS apps. So we call this vertical AI or point solutions. And Salesforce has Einstein, HubSpot has Breeze, Atlassian has Rovo, like choose your mega SaaS company and their weirdly named AI. But the point is that these AI point solutions are only solving part or a very narrow part of the either problem or opportunity that you have as a purpose-led brand. And so I like to use the example of Salesforce Einstein, which is a CRM tool, so it helps salespeople, is that Einstein may help you write a better email to a top customer, but it won't know if that top customer is a poor payer because it's not connected to your accounting platform. Now, I'd like you to go think back to when you go to ChatGPT and you write prompts. The bigger the prompt, the better the result, right? Yes? I think Sam Altman recently said that about $1 million a day is spent when you say please and thank you to ChatGPT. So you don't have to do that. You can save ChatGPT some money. However, the point is that the larger the prompt, the bigger the context window that you can give the AI and the better the result. So if we're only buying or installing point solutions into our business, they don't understand the horizontal complexity or context of our company. And so that's the Decider platform. We're a horizontal platform. Boy, this thing. That goes into it. But one other thing to think about is that these AI agents and this agentic opportunity that we have in front of us is actually very, very expensive. ChatGPT has $5 billion in revenues, but $10 billion in cost, okay? I want you to think back to Uber. Remember when Uber first came out? It was really cheap. And has anyone got an Uber recently? It's more expensive than a taxi. It's like 15 to 20% more expensive. That's because Uber was subsidized by venture capital money to get us to create the behavior of using this platform. Guess what's happening right now? Okay? So there is some serious mass and empirical mass that sit behind a lot of this generative AI agents, I use the words interchangeably, is that very simply, is that what you're looking at here is the success rate. That's the success rate of essentially an AI doing a task consistently, drops significantly as you chain together more tasks. So if you could see here the number of steps. So think about a workflow in your business. You know, there are very few workflows with just one step in them, right? There are many. And so the problem around generative AI at the moment is that you get a degradation of actual costs, a degradation of consistency. And the second thing is as you start to chain tasks together, and I think that many businesses, hopefully none of you will have to experience this, many businesses will get very, very big bills from OpenAI and Anthropic. Because as you start to ask generative AI to chain more tasks together, there is a quadratic increase in cost. So if you think about your workflows in your business, yes, you can go in and say, you know, ChatGPT, do this little bit of research for me. Just note that that research prompt probably costs $50, right, in true cost. But as you start putting these things into your business, like be prepared and think through the increasing costs. There'll be many companies, small businesses, that will get $10,000, $20,000 bills from the OpenAI API if they continue to just smash an LLM on top of your business. So do not just put generative AI on top of your business. Now, as we start to think through what we can do with agentic commerce, and to go back to my opening point, as purpose-led brands, how can you make more out of every dollar? And how can you find more customers who may share your purpose, which is an amazing thing with AI, and then you can accelerate with creativity, is that there's a couple things that you should be thinking about today, because let's face it, you know, all business kind of intersects with the internet at one way or another, is that you want to first start on 3 large trends that are happening. So the first one is retail GPT. So if you're a purpose-led brand like Patagonia, as an example, it's probably one of the North Stars, is that you can now put your products into these essentially model creators. So today, you could go to OpenAI and you can load your products into them, right? Why is this happening? Why is that these companies and these model creators are creating the next browser wars, which is AI browsers, right? Well, what do browsers capture? They capture user behavior, they capture user intent, and that feeds into these large language models to chase after a $300 billion a year search industry, which is up for grabs. So we are not far away from when you go into ChatGPT and you will be recommended a holiday, products, other things like that. So as a purpose-led brand, you can get ahead of that by doing what's called AI optimization. Heavy slide, happy to talk about it. We'll share this with the Ricoh team so you can go through. But just like SEO, where you optimize your site, these large language models, large vision models, large geospatial models, they are slightly different. And so they work on intent, which means that going back to the earlier presentation about creativity in the higher order work, the taste, right, the je ne sais quoi, that's going to be increasingly important as you start to create content and products for your customers. And so when you talk about purpose and finding new customers, these are methods that you need to start implementing now, because if we think back to when Google AdWords first put out, right, those people who started to experiment with Google AdWords, the proportion of people who own boats who use AdWords first, who don't, is very, very high. Those were very successful people. And so getting in and optimizing your assets will give you an unfair advantage as 500 million people use ChatGPT alone on a regular basis. So having clear and crisp and defined product and your product variants and having them optimized will be a very powerful tool for you in the future. And boy, this thing needs a new battery. Just finishing off, talking about purpose, is that as you're thinking about your organizations and your staff, you have to ask the question. I always think about Australia, and although my amazing Australian accent may put me on another hemisphere, I am Australian. But when you think about the productivity problem in Australia, it's been around for 25 years. And if AI is so amazing, why aren't we seeing it in the productivity outputs of the nation? Well, the reason is why we're actually only at the individual stage, in individual productivity. And it's because we all have ChatGPT, and fantastic. It allows us to research, it allows us to create beautiful things, it allows us to really do some remarkable things. But that's contained within the individual. And there's this new term called productivity leakage, which is good for the takeaway coffee industry, because if you do your work more quickly, you just have another coffee. So we're going to move quickly into team productivity. And that could be done by these point solutions like Salesforce. But we won't see organizational productivity until we actually understand how artificial intelligence works, which it is fundamentally a horizontal technology. And so the more context that you put into your systems, the better your results will be. And so that is the organizational productivity that we focus on at Decider. And what's even more exciting about an AI-first organization. So you should all be thinking about, how do I not put AI into a human organization? That's the wrong way, right? Our businesses have literally been shaped by the SaaS software that have been put into it. We have staff and humans who tippy-tap things into a computer, other staff that export that, other staff that put a report back into they tippy-tap that into or upload it into another computer. AI does not need any of those screens, right? In an AI future, you do not need a Salesforce, right? So these are big things when you should be thinking about an AI-first company. So thinking about your products and your customers, and then forgetting about all of those Salesforce and HubSpot screens. And so as you're doing that, when AI-first businesses start to conduct agentic commerce, that becomes really cool. Because then you're looking at national agentic productivity. And that's where I'd like to think we're all doing higher order work. We're getting less of the baloney. We have higher propensity to find things that we like. So the intent of the business and the consumer is much higher, and the success rate is much higher. But principally, I'd like to think back to one of the books that I remember reading in high school called Wuthering Heights. Remember swooning over Heathcliff and all of those things? Well, in the 18th century, it was all about the salon, right? And the salon was a place where you could enjoy things like flower arranging, that was a thing, poetry, music, singing, all about conversation. That's what I think we'll be moving to if we're able to achieve this kind of opportunity in front of us to capture and use AI appropriately. So if any of you are interested in learning more, what we've done is, not a coffee break yet, is launch our platform. So if anybody wants it, it's $99. You get access to all of the agentic flows in our organization. That's everything from sales, through project management, all the way down to bank reconciliation. And you can start experimenting with how you can build an AI-first business. And then also, importantly, with agentic, that is humans, that is AI, and that is conditional logic. All three of those things are active in a workflow. Thank you very much.
Thanks, David. Did you say something about more coffee? No, that was really brilliant. Thank you, David. Somehow you explained that in a way that actually I think I understood for the first time in a long time about the difference between that vertical and horizontal. So thank you so much for that. That was really, really interesting. But we have consumed a lot of information here today, and we need a little bit more of a pause, and we need to consume something else before we come back into workshop mode. We're about to have our morning tea break, which is super exciting. It would be fantastic if you could all be back here at 11:35. Go out there and enjoy. 11:40? 11:40! Spoil yourself. Oh, can you please bring everything that you've got? All these chairs will disappear. So take everything off your chair because you won't recognize this room when you come back.
Show them where the tables are. If you'd like to just wait here, I'll be back in like 5 minutes.